Hi there. Welcome to another installment of Between Two Worlds with James von Praagh on this episode. I do want to also mention that in this episode, unfortunately, we were Zoom bombed, and so there is a break in the feed because I had to edit out that part. So I hope you enjoy this conversation that we had. A lot of great information there, and thanks. There he is, the man of the hour. Hold on, let me unmute you. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, now I think you can talk.
I said you shaved your beard and I'm growing my beard.
Yeah, I don't have a beard, but
like John Wilkes Booth look going on there.
I took your I do, right? I took your mustache from you.
I see you did. I need it back. I brought my beard back. Hi everyone.
Everyone, it's James von Praagh. Da, 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 da. Sweet.
Personally, or just people, just general people?
These are the people of the world.
The people of the world.
We are the world. We are the children. You know.
This virus is about. We are the world.
You guys didn't know you were coming for a musical extravaganza, did you? James and I will be the leads.
Speaking of which, you know, you're so funny. We're just so much alike. It's like coffee. A student of mine the other day shared a song with me that I was talking about surrendering, and she shared the song Olivia Newton-John, "Let Go and Let God." I don't know, I guess it's a well-known song, but I played it all Friday, and I still sing it. Let go and let God. She battled, cancer. The breast cancer twice, I believe. And it's such a great song for anybody about surrendering and letting go and letting God. Check it out, Let Go and Let God. The video's cute, but it's just, and her voice is so phenomenal. But it's simplified, surrendering.
Love it.
Yeah, we're getting caught into mediumship already. I haven't my purse full of cereal yet.
See, you're getting him fresh-faced and ready to go.
Where is everybody from?
Everyone, just write it here in the little thing.
Is there a chat room?
There is a little chat, so
lucky I know how to get on there.
Otherwise, everyone will be talking at once, and it will be mayhem.
I've had that on my calls, and they will say, "Allow us to do birds," and we have the birds for 5 minutes. It's fun. How do you get to the chat room, Miguel? Oh, here it is. Chat. Got it.
I love how I keep muting myself and talking. I have this tendency because I switch it on and off. I'm always switching it on and off because of the.
Bye. Wow. San Juan Capistrano. It's so far away. Brooklyn, Arkansas, Sarasota Bay, Tustin. Hi, Rita. Where's Rita from? Huntington Beach, Orange County, Brooklyn, New York. Right.
We got people from all over the world, and they're still coming in.
I was curious how who finds us and where they are, and the furthest place in the world from California, and it's like Dubai right now.
Yeah, that's my girl, Aisha.
That's your girl?
Yeah, my girl, Aisha.
You sound like me, I tell you.
People are still popping in, so I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna have some. Excuse me,
stalling, honey. We got to stall.
You got me out of bed.
I said, get up, James. It's time to work.
I had to walk the dog and clean the dog, and then I cleaned the dishes, and I had to get coffee, and then I had some cereal. For the sugar problems.
Funny. So just give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll get started.
I'm thinking about becoming a vegetarian.
Hey, that's good. I love that.
There's always meat plants, lovely things, meat plants. Yeah, I'm slowly gonna wean off it. Yeah, I don't eat a lot right now, but some red meat, no mas.
Yeah, I was vegan for a while.
For you?
And then I went back to being pescatarian. So now I'm living there, but I eat way more plant-based than I have before. So that
pescatarian, is that fish included?
Yeah, like seafood. Yeah, seafood.
Let's talk about that. You look so different with just a mustache. I mean, my God, you look a totally different person.
Really, do I? I hope it's a positive difference.
Catch Michael and looking into the camera.
Yeah, that's me.
His hair. His fabulous hair.
But we have to remember, it's like, as time is happening, this is all just lighting now. Let's just sit in front of a window, and then you just. By the way, this is what you're in for. In case anyone was wondering, this is pretty much.
We know each other for 3 years, 4 years now. 4 years, probably.
Yeah,
4 years. We met in doing a TV pilot together. I was like, oh, who's this young kid? Because I never meet anyone who knows anything. And I was like, I started talking to Michael. It was like, and we speak the same language. And he said, oh my God, I went all over the world to find someone who talks like you. And you're right in my backyard. I said, same here. So we really have very similar views of mediumship and the work and integrity level of responsibility. And also, we did a demonstration together once. We'll do another one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
really
when
well.
demonstrations become a thing again.
When you're socially allowed, and we'll do it all in mass. And it was great. It was great. You know, there are not a lot of mediums you can, at least from my experience, you can share this platform with, and you really care about each other, and you give each other the space to work. And I've tried many mediums, but Michael's one I can definitely use. We work with each other. He just got to control his hand movements, but otherwise he's just fine.
I know. I totally. If I'm working, you'll see me being like, I look like I'm doing the single ladies video. I'm like,
yeah, you do that, and you're pointing.
And then I'm like, da, 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 da. I always do that. My thumb goes here, and then my hand starts waving as I point to the spirits or something. I don't know.
You point a lot too. Like you'll close your eyes and you'll point.
Yep. I'm like, and then I'm getting this, and I'm like, oh, praise the Lord. That's basically me working.
But that's every medium different, and that's how you tune in. That's how you're in.
Yes.
A lot of mediums will bring your hands together, get the energy up. And I tend to walk a little bit. A lot of mediums do that with the energy to walk. And I also turn that into looking at people in the audience, like taking their energy, working with their energy by get them, bring them into it. That's another way of doing it. I've discovered over 30 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how many people we have here? 58.
Right now we're, I think, 64.
Okay.
People are still trying. I'm still, we're going to go ahead and start. I keep pushing the admit all button. So if we are, if you see me clicking a button, that's what I'm doing, because
some people eating cereal and give it
that's okay. Hopefully people can get in. So hi everyone. I am Michael, and this is another installment of Between Two Worlds, Conversations with Mediums. So I have multiple people that I'm doing this with, but I'm so excited to have the amazing.
First time I've heard of this. I don't understand. This is the first time
I just made it, honey. I'm developing it.
All right, just wondering.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I did tell you about this several weeks ago when I was like, hey, come do this thing for me. Like, honey, whenever. And I was like, okay, so let's do it. And then we did it. And that's the tricky thing with mediums, though, is pinning them down.
Hard, really hard.
He's a busy guy.
Well, not necessarily me, but a lot of mediums out there. It's like, and everybody thinks we know each other, and we don't. I mean, we don't. You know, it was House John Edwards. Like, I really don't. I've known John for many years, but we don't socialize at all. We don't. All the other mediums. Lisa Williams twice, and you know, Tyler Henry. I haven't met the little boy yet, and I haven't seen what's her name, the lady. Oh, Teresa. I met Teresa once at a restaurant. We closed the restaurant. That's we don't really know each other, except we live close. Michael and I will make a effort to call each other at least once or twice a month, checking in with each other. And then we have Gordon Smith over in Scotland that check in with. Some friend Tony Stockwell and Lynn Probert in England. But you really don't, it's a bit of a medium, then you know all the mediums.
It's true. You don't. There's plenty I don't know.
And everybody wants their own style too. So never try to be don't try to do like this person or that person, because you're unique in yourself and you got to do it your own way.
Exactly. So what I wanted to talk about today was a few things, but I think a good one, and I picked this subject specifically for you, is
why I shaved my mustache off. No.
Why he took his mustache off. No. Mediumship.
The reason I did that, because a lot of people are wondering why, if they haven't seen me yet. And the reason why was because during lockdown, I said to my students online, I said, I do a Facebook Live every day called Soul Care at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And what I did was, can you hear me okay? I just remembered on my headset on. Okay. I told my students, use this time as an opportunity to do things in your life you've always wanted to do, but you have the time to do it. It's a great time to do that. And I thought, I have to walk my talk. So I've always wanted to be in a musical theater role, because my background's in musical theater. When I was a young kid, I used to audition Broadway shows when I was 18, 19 years old. I gave that really work up to do spiritual work. So for 30 something years now, the show I really wanted to do was Little Shop of Horrors. And it was in San Diego. And it was a video audition. I hired a musician composer guy. I sang this. I had to be from 60 down to 35. So I shaved with a mustache. That was about 25 years right there. And a dark
25 years.
Yeah, really dark brown. I put these big old glasses on, and I did the audition. I got through it and didn't get the part. But really was a process of doing that and showing everybody you should do things, So now I'm in the process of growing back a beard, because I just want to just let it all go. My hair come down. It's fun. That's it. Okay, we move on. Sorry. Your hair. I can't do that. Shake it all off. Yeah. Michael, I'm going to come over with a scissor. Okay. You can't hear me? I can't read lips.
Mute.
I'm on mute?
Michael's on mute.
Oh.
You got to
good.
keep telling me that because I will keep doing that. I promise. So, as I said, we are not here to talk about my hair. We're here to talk about mediumship and different topics. And there's one that I picked specifically for James because he has had so much experience with it. And it is mediumship and the media. And I think that's a really interesting one to kind of, discuss because from the media, we often get a lot of different portrayals of what mediumship is. And I think that a lot of people who kind of step into mediumship are going to start somewhere. And oftentimes, especially in the United States, the media is where you're going to see mediumship happening. And so we get a lot of different interesting things that come from that. And I'm just kind of curious or want to explore with you, James, like what's been your experience with the media and mediumship and how, what are your thoughts? And obviously I don't expect you to, name.
Stop wiping your hair.
That's why it's falling out. It's because I rub it too much.
Much nice. Yeah. That's a lot. It's a lot. Wow. I never went into mediumship to be famous, to be on television, to be well known. None of that really was the reason why. I went to mediumship really to serve because I felt the love that came through from spirit to the recipient. And the first time I felt that, I thought, wow, there's nothing more on this earth to help people and to feel in that. You're participating in that because you feel that love. You're the transmitter. So early on, it was my good mediums. Word of mouth, of course. It was word of mouth. 4 months ahead. And then someone from Unsolved Mysteries came and they wanted me to do the show, and I did. And I was very innocent in that I didn't know what was going on. I just did the reading. I just came back from Brazil 2 days before, so I was pretty tired. It was a Saturday morning. I went to Pasadena and shot this circle. I knew nothing about what was going to happen. And I shot a circle. To make a long story short, and there was a man in the audience in the television audience, which I didn't know. His name was Michael Shermer. And later he was a skeptic in the Skeptic Society. And when they called the production company, I said, what do you do? Well, we got to balance it out. Okay, whatever. So, of course, this man tries to fit all these incredible hits or whatever into cold reading, which I didn't know the name of that. Anyway, that was my first kind of experience of doubters. So this isn't cool. So then I just did my thing. And very early on, you got to learn to what other people think of you is none of your business because they don't know your experience. This man has different experience than before. And that's the way that was. So anyway, the word got out, and I went to a TV show called The Other Side, NBC pilot, and that was they bought the pilot NBC, and we shot for a whole year, and it was a morning show about 9 to 10 every morning with Dr. Will Miller, and it was me, and Sylvia Brown was on there, a lot of people were on there. Sonia Shirkette was on there, a lot of different topics, UFOs and astrology, numerology, mediumship. I was their #1 guest. I shot the pilot and did very well, and then I was on like 20 times. And then the year, it turned it down because I think it was before its time. Anyway, from that point, that's generally speaking with media. I did a lot of guest shows and things. The thing I found out when you have and this is back in the 90s, early 90s. So media then was very different than now. When I first started out, really, there was no one else out in television. I was the first one to go Larry King, and it was a kind of a fluke, but it wasn't because they were in charge of that one. My first book, Talking to Heaven, came out. And this happened to have a card left over from this producer, Wendy Walker, who came up to me after I did The Other Side, and she wanted me to do Larry King Live. And I said, okay. And she said, do you have any gimmicks? And this is a producer speaking, so I want to hear this. Do you have any gimmicks? I said, gimmicks. She goes, yeah, like read celebrities. I said, I talk to dead people. That's pretty good enough. Don't you think? That's not really. I said, really? I said, well, I'm sorry, I have nothing. 2 years later was when my book came out, and I had her card, and I called her up. It was a Friday. And December 7th it was, and Friday, December 7th, a day which was living with me. I called her up, she was home, and I said, I'd like to do this show, is it possible? And she said, Larry's not really doing that sort of thing anymore. And her grandfather came through really loud, and I just gave her this message about the mother's glasses, that one of the glasses were off, the crossword puzzle, all these details, real specific details. She's freaking out, and she goes, "I call you back." And she called her mom, and then she called back 20 minutes later. She's freaking out. She goes, "Everything he said is right." It's like, oh my God. And she said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Nothing." She goes, "You want to be in the show?" I said, "Yeah." Now that's spirit led, because there's no way that show would have had that opening. Usually it's advanced for a week, 2 weeks, or for a month. So spirit led that. And that was the first time Medium had ever been on television that long, doing readings for the audience. The show on Friday night at CNN from 6 to 7 on the Pacific Coast, but the call centers across the world didn't stop getting calls until Sunday afternoon. And my book flew off the show. My book went to 600,000, 6,600,000. That was Spirit's way of opening that door up for all of us mediums, or for the general public to become aware of what mediumship is, that this stuff exists and it's real. And I think that was a change in the social, the people out there. I think it did change the consciousness a bit, which was
Absolutely.
right? Because I didn't, before that, my life changed instantly. And then again, long story short, numerous guest appearances on shows. And I found out throughout there was really the streamlining of it was the producers. There were some producers who will work with you, and some are just into their ego, and some don't know what the hell they're doing, but they pretend they do, right? And then I went from. I'll get back to this in a second, but then I went to, country movies to CBS, really well. Did my biography, and it did really well for CBS. And they came up. They said, Nina Tester said, "You want to do a series? Would you like to come up with a series?" And that's where Ghost Whisperer came up, and that was a whole journey itself, because I had to have the executives at ABC and CBS sit in a room, someone's house, and do readings to them so they could see it's real. And I was hired, as an executive. I should have been executive producer, but the producers got ahead of it. They said, "Oh no, he's co-executive producer." And I didn't know anything about pilots. I didn't know anything about writing scripts. I didn't know what to get the credit by. So I wrote some of it. We had a writer, John, and he was writing. And during I say, "I'm going to get credit for the pilot," right? Because he didn't say anything. But I gave all the ideas. The paramedic. I gave lots of ideas for the show, of course. And I was on top of the meetings. And when it came out, they said, pilot is not by you. I said, "Why not?" Because it has to be written by the person. So it's created by. Created by. So I didn't get created by title like I should have, because I didn't write it. So that was the first, So spirituality and mediumship are like two bad trains colliding. And you have to really be a hold of your integrity and responsibility, because it was hell doing Ghost Whisperer.
Sorry, just to clarify, did you mean to say spirituality and media? Is that what you meant to say?
Spirituality media, that's fine. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. You said mediumship, so I just wanted to.
Sorry. Television, I'm just saying television, really. Because not necessarily media now, because media shifts its awareness now. It's more accepted than ever. But when I was there, it was just the opposite. And it was the skeptics, this sort of thing. So I fight those battles. So it was like a train wreck when I was trying to get meetings, certain things done in the show. There was one episode. That's the first year I said, "To hell with this. I'm not going to," and my energy is too good to be stuck here in this office listening to the Universal tram going by playing Alfred Hitchcock. So I thought, you know what? And they don't want to use me as a person. They really want to push me away.
Yeah.
Thank God I have friends at CBS who, it's really interesting. But I found that actually I'm expandable. They didn't really understand what I did. They didn't want to understand. Some didn't want to understand. I had Ghost Rules the first season, and after that season, and Jennifer Love Hewitt and I went out and put deep publicity for the show. It was #1 show Friday night. After it made a success, the executive producers that I hired tried getting rid of me, budget reasons. And then I was like, huh. And then I'll never forget this. It was a producer. They brought in a writer, a co-executive producer. I had no choice in it because I didn't have experience per se. This guy comes in. He's in an episode where Jim, the main character, leaves his body. And I said, "Oh, that's an OBE." He goes, "No, we're going to call it something else." You can't call it something else. That's exactly what it is. I said, "It's like your judge show, and you have called the judge something else." I'll just tell your people that, we had a producer that did that. I'm like, what can you say to that? So I went to my office and I was really pissed. I was angry, and I liked the spirit. I said, what's going on? Why would you put me in this position? And they said, "James, stop it. You have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is people are looking at this show. And at the end of every show, they question their own selves of their life after death." Of course. Yep. And that was it. That was the reason why. And and then years later, I had to go after ABC for royalties because I knew Spirit said, "Oh, they have money of yours, close to $2 million." And I got an attorney, and then my attorney is an entertainment attorney known for years, actually. And he put all of us together, all this, Jennifer Love Hewitt, the two co-producers, and another producer, and myself. and we put it together as a team, like Friends did when they did that whole thing. And we were able to get our monies from ABC, Disney, and we were able to get it. Not that it's not the amount they deserved, but it got something. So that was great. And yeah, so all right, let me go on. So nowadays, when you have mediumship on television, we know it's Teresa Caputo's show, we know Tyler Henry's show, and then Matt Frazier had a show. So can I address all of those, please?
Yeah,
Thank
sure,
you.
go for it.
I got to say, number one, of course, and a little biased, but the bigger picture is that their mediumship is out there to the public. Many people have opened up their minds and hearts to see it as a reality. Even though at times they present it as a joke, or they present it as, a carnival act, just, but that's really both the producer, and it's also the talent. I give more responsibility to the producer because they should know more, but maybe they don't. And unfortunately, in the media, it's hard, like everything, it's money, it's ratings, it's what'll sell.
Right.
And that's what Sylvia Brown was on Montel for years and years and years. She looks like a psychic. She looks like your, everyday psychic. And Teresa Caputo is a character. She's a real character. She has talent, of course, and she's a talent. People relate to her. So that was a success.
Right.
A mediumship, it's okay. I think she could go for much more development, but I don't know if she's into that. There are mediums that will reach a point in their careers where everything's going just fine and they stay there. And I call them, and my friend Lynn Probert, mediocre mediums or mushroom mediums. They come up overnight and gone during the day, right? Because the responsibility of a medium is to always be learning, always be expanding, always be working. Every day you're learning something, different aspects of your mind and so forth. And I love her. I met her once, so that's fine. But to me, it doesn't show a lot of mediumship per se. It was more like this lady. And then the other guy, Tyler Henry, I think is a sweet boy, very, very sweet. I don't think the producers know at all what to do on each channel. I know those people, they don't know anything about mediumship, and they say, let's just do it. Right. And to us who do this work and take a responsibility, it's like, how can you do that? Right. And to me, I think it's a disservice because that's not what mediumship is. It's done for ratings, he's way too young, 21 years old. What kind of life experience has he had to be out for a national, international show? There's not a lot of life experience. And his messages, he's a sweet guy, he gets the word out, but the messages are clearly psychic medium. A lot of psychism, some mediumship there. I don't think he knows the difference. I really don't. And I'd like to teach that boy because he has the raw material, but needs to expand and really work at that.
So in what ways do you feel that mediumship is different in reality? So how would you describe the difference?
Okay, yeah, just one Matt Frazier really quickly. Those are Matt Frazier. It's on a show, I think it's already canceled. And Matt Frazier, and he came off like, this is a show you really no integrity. From Rhode Island, he wanted to be famous forever. And this guy's been after me for a long time, and I just will not. So he said, don't. And now he drives around Rhode Island with a van with his name on it. And the show is about him and his girlfriend. And I don't know. I don't know. He's gayer than you and I put together. And he said, and it's all about the show. It's all about this. It's like, I look better than that. And it's like, wow, that shows that mediumship doesn't come to the top. It's all about him, or the ego. Right. That's what we're constantly fighting about, the ego. And we have to be considerate about how mediumship is portrayed in the media. And so he just wants to be famous at any cost, obviously. And that's really a disservice to not only us mediums, but the general public and the spirit world, right? But we don't have for a reason. So you got to have for a reason. So now with mediumship on television and media, Michael?
How do you feel it should be portrayed? Like, what is the difference between,
I think that, and again, it's educating the producers. I was slowly doing it little by little, but I think it's changed a lot because, again, Fraser, and God bless him, nice kid, but I think that everyone just wants to be famous, or they said, it's a good way to get money. It's a wrong reason, and I think that it's because the producers are not educated, and the mediums or whatever they're called going to be just famous. It brings it down to low level as far as I'm concerned. I think that it should be portrayed with more education, with more of the process of exactly how the spirit is communicated. Teach, television. I have a broadcasting degree. I went to school for 4 years of broadcasting, and it was Marshall McLuhan read a lot of, but it's also, you would not leave that broadcasting with a degree without knowing that you have responsibility. You have responsibility to every single person that's watching. and that was really drummed into us. And it's true because, like, for instance, the Ghost Whisperer, they want to put the fear aspect in. And I had to go to CBS and say, listen, I will not put my name on this show. If at the end of a show, people in the audience are not uplifted and in love, having loving feeling, I'm not going to put a name onto it. Because we got to remember the responsibility that words are things, acts are things, and you know, and what you're putting out the ethers in television, it goes out to those ethers and it'll affect us. And so I'll make sure I want to leave every episode with love and healing, and she crossed them over. And that's me, integrity. And that people said it was the best part of it, actually.
Right.
I know that they know what they're doing. So I'd like it to be, you know, we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it yet. I do think it's going to go from those quirky, goofy Ghostbuster adventure things. When someone has a oomph to go into a real show, which I might do something coming up to really bring it up. If I'm invited to do that, I will. But I think it also matters with the person themselves, mediums, who they are, with their integrity level, their responsibility level. And sometimes they're not as educated as they should be to do something like that.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought up, you know, that getting the fear out of it. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we often see is a lot of fear-based, even in people who do mediumship, right? And who
Yes,
teach it,
of course.
is there's still a lot of this fear-based teaching that there's these attachments, or that there's these people who haven't crossed over, and like, you know, all these things, and rescue circles and things like that.
Yes.
And like, I feel on the internet like one of the crusaders that are like, hiya, like let's get rid of that because it's unnecessary, and also it adds fear to it. And really the spirit world is of love. Like, that is what it is. And you know, I've heard people argue that you know, you have to have both. You have to have, you know, good and bad. I'm like, maybe in the physical world, sure, but not in the spirit world, because what we are made of is that love, is that the source. Fear, I believe, comes from our fear of ending. It's our physical sort of, it's a thing for us to live and not die from a fire or from getting eaten by a tiger. All that comes from this sort of lived sort of experience. But when that's gone, now the threat of death or loss of self is gone. And therefore you are just your essence. So I love that you brought up that was a big point for you, to make sure that there wasn't this sort of fear thing going on.
And the same for mediumship. When you're doing mediumship, when you're doing one-on-one, it's got to be that sense of love, not fear. You have to, that has to be the way it is, because that's the way it is. Fear is only of the human, like you said. And I go back even to, and I talk a lot about this, the beginning years, the programming years. We're born with love. We're souls just come back here. Many children are very psychic, of course, because they just come from the spirit world. So their mindset is still of the spirit world. They measure things from the spirit world point of view, probably until the age 5, 6, 7. And then the adults, the parents get in and give rules. And you got to do this to receive love. You got to do this to receive a grade. Oh, I got to do that because I want to be loved. So I think I go all the way back to that. And I think that, and I've said it many times, that life is a series of choices. That's all it is. And it's either love or fear. There's nothing else. You didn't make it anything, but it's love or fear. That's it. And fear is instilled in us when we're young, because we have to be accepted. We got to survive. We want people to be with us. And then there will be abandonment issues. And some people get stuck in that childhood and repeat those patterns of needing people to love them, and they carry it with adulthood. And I work a lot with mediums, upper mediums who or life coach people who just are stuck in that space emotionally and mentally, and we have to release that because that's not who they are, you know?
Right. And I love that you're talking about that too, because one of the things that I've noticed too in working over the last however many years, 14, 15 years, that like you can be a very developed medium, but not have worked on yourself, your own personal healing. And I think those two things are separate. You know, a lot of people try to lump spirituality with healing. And while I think it's concurrent path, I think you still have to work on you as a human, the mind that experienced all of these things that have happened, but then you also have to work the path of, you know, your spiritual connection, your spiritual development, and these things should work together.
100%. 100%. And that you have to apply them to your own life. You got to walk your talk. And it's true. I say this a lot, and I don't mean to blow my own horn, but I will. Just because someone's a medium doesn't mean they're spiritual. There are some very well-known mediums, great mediums. People know these mediums, very well-known. but they're not a bit spiritual. They're very meaty, they have talent, they're very gifted, that they don't have no sense of spirituality. Just because you're meaty doesn't mean you're spiritual. I've seen a lot of them that way. And that's
Well,
just, I am very aware of the teachings that they're giving me, the philosophies that I try to apply them to my life. And every demonstration I do, I learn something new, of course. But it's
right.
how good are you if you can't use it? But again, each one is different. Each person is different. So for me, I use that.
Well, and I think another interesting thing too is like fame as it relates to mediumship. I think people often feel
Hold on,
that
I got my makeup on. Everyone.
I think people often feel that because one is well known, then they must be, you know, the very best or like the top of the top. And I think that's something to kind of remember.
Don't I know that? Yes.
Yeah. And it's going to kind of lead me into this like next little topic here, but I do want to kind of highlight that it's like just because someone has a TV show or something doesn't actually mean that they have that, you know, spiritual integrity and that sort of thing.
Oh.
And it's super important for us to really pay attention to the quality of the work, as well as what is this person teaching? How are they off camera? Do you know what I mean? And like, are they being that thing? Because I think what most of us are looking for is some kind of spiritual understanding, fulfillment, upliftment, that sort of thing. And what we can actually take from the spirit that we've learned to share with other people, right? And so that's what
Exactly.
people are looking for.
100%.
And so I think that it's super important for us to just be mindful that just because someone is really, really well known doesn't necessarily mean they are, you know, you should be following in that sense.
And that's an interesting dynamic, which a lot of people don't know because they're in these shoes. That was something for me that, I mean, I don't know. I really didn't understand it. A couple of things I didn't understand with fame. Number one was the people's reaction with the skeptics and non-believers, like, oh, I don't care what they think, whatever. I didn't expect that. The other thing was, like you said, people look at you like you have like 3 eyes and 2 heads. It's like, I'm just human like you are. But people, you know, have to also remember that they look at your mediumship. I'm in many, many planes, and of course, I know all the flight attendants, and I'm half the time in the galley, and I'm like, whatever, but the TSA agents. But you're looked at very differently than a regular rock star because you're at that level of spirit. And of course, they think another illusion, oh, that you're here in my plane. Can you give me a reading for my husband that passed over? No, I shut down. I'm not on all the time. Like Teresa Caputo is portrayed, which I think is the wrong way to portray mediumship because no medium is just on all the time. Because if they were on all the time, at least correctly doing the work, if they're on all the time, they're going to burn out because the adrenals will get burned right out. The analogy I like to use is like a ceiling fan that's left on all the time. The motor is on. And if you leave that on, it's going to burn out. Same thing with mediumship. You got to take care of this vessel. You got to take care of this machine, respect it enough. So that's what I don't like being portraying that, oh, they're always on. So people walk up to me, can you see? I said, no. What do you see in my future? I said, 2 aspirins in a bed. That's what I see. But I it's another form. I say everything's an opportunity. And I just use it as an opportunity to teach them because they don't know any better. So I actually will teach them. I'll say, this is how it works because they don't know. So yeah, it's interesting how it's all portrayed and interesting. So and that fame thing was weird. I did read for Cher, and I didn't know she brought it to the public. I had no idea. It was at a book tour, I think, and I landed in Houston or somewhere in Texas. And I got out of the gate, and seriously, there were rows and rows of reporters and paparazzi. I'm like, who's inviting? And they kept running after me. My public schools. They just Cher just announced it on Johnny Carson show. Like, oh shoot! So that was weird. That was a really weird thing. But for years, if I couldn't be by myself. People would recognize me all the time, and they still do.
And those kinds of like fame experiences, I'm sure like 99.9 of us probably will never know and experience. However,
dynamic, but you got to use it responsibly, and so many people do not. And even celebrities that I found
absolutely
not. And you know, it's a lesson. These are lessons. Everything is a lesson for us. Look at even having money is a lesson. I mean, I know billionaires and millionaires, and you know. Can they handle it? What the lessons might be what they do with that money. So we're always learning.
Absolutely. And I think that one experience that we all are going to experience, because I know a lot of people that are watching right now are developing mediums. And it is it's the experience of, as I have termed it with mediumship, coming out of the cabinet. So because as those of you who don't know spiritualism, we used to sit in cabinets and physical medium.
Explain what a cabinet means, please. Am I going to go to the cupboard?
It's an enclosed space in which you sit for the development of one's mediumship. So,
mental, what?
physical mediumship specifically. However, all forms can probably develop somewhere if you're.
Yes, it originally starts with physical development, medium development.
Absolutely. So coming out of the cabinet is sort of the way that I've termed the way that we come out to the world and say, I'm a medium. And I don't know if just by show of hands, just from people who are watching, how many of us have actually not come out yet, and would like to, come out and say something. So that's a lot of hands from the people that I can see. And I think that this is a question I often get is like, how do I know when I'm ready? How do I know when I'm ready to come out and say to the world, etc.?
I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Exactly. So what do you think? How does one know?
Well,
and then what can they expect when they do come out?
Well, I mean, it's different for every single person, but I just have to say, and I don't know, everyone has a different experience. It's a very different if you have a background, let's say a born again Christian family and religious background. That's very different than someone who has no belief system in the family, and it's really, I find that it's the issues we place upon ourselves, the conditions we place upon ourselves for expressing our true self. Whether we think our family or friends, oh, you're crazy, yeah, so what? But I'll tell my students that always, what other people think of you is none of your business. What other people think of you is none of your business. And if you're going to rely yourself on what other people think of you, then you shouldn't do the work, because they're always going to be blasting you for something or not. You can never please anyone. You have to please yourself. So many times I find that someone's going to jump in the pool and swim, and the spirit will always work with you, but it's the human, it's this nature that gets in the way, fear, what do people think? So I throw my students into it, and then just kind of guide them into it. Because many times with development as students, I'm going through it right now. But Student Mediumship 2 is applications are being accepted. If you don't know that yet, so go to my website if you want this full application. I find that still people who've done mediumship for many years still have nervous tendencies before they can do a reading, non-confidence when they get on there, that the human kind of takes over, and which really is a great opportunity, if you will, to surrender to such a point that the human steps back and invite the spirit in. And I call it the art of discovery. What can you discover that's so new in the spirit? What are they going to teach you? I also use the analogy of a stage, that you are an actor and you go on the stage and the character's going to come in, and who's the character? So you can describe that character.
Yeah.
And that works pretty well for people to get out of the way. It's just getting out of the way. That's all. Once you get into that space as a receptive, surrendering, and you communicate with the spirit, you're with them, it's fantastic. And you can never go backwards.
I love that.
Yeah, true.
How do you think that we handle, because I know you've being a person in the United States who, I mean, if we were going to use spiritualist terms, like a pioneer.
Yes, I'm a pioneer with Daniel Boone. That's right.
So you have received all the criticism, all the skeptics, all that. How did you learn how to kind of get past, I say that as you put food in your mouth. How did you, I'm slowing it down for you. How did you learn how to get past that and like stay in the integrity of your spiritual work?
It's funny, Michael. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't realize I was so sensitive. And then I would say it's probably the other side came on. And the Larry Kings, for beginnings of Larry Kings. Because you got to win your over audiences no matter what you do. Even the publisher went sell my book Talking to Heaven at it, blow them away or do something. It's crazy. I went through a negative period, I guess, when 97, 98, when that was happening, because it's like they're talking about me in that way, and I don't do that sort of thing. That's not who I am. They don't know me, and it upset me for a good time. About a year, I guess, a year and a half. I was helped by some friend, Brian Weiss, who's helped me a lot, and my friends that I've met along the path, on the journey. They're putting your path when to help you. And the other thing I wanted to mention, which I brought earlier, I didn't expect when I became famous or whatever you want to call that. There was this film I never in my life thought, even when I was a little kid and I wanted to be a sitcom writer, I never thought this aspect. I never realized, even to this day, that people who are spiritually or the medium who were jealous and envious of my fame. And that threw me for a loop, because I was like, what? And they were just so angry. See, these people.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's go to Shannon.
Hi.
Hi.
Fully fart in a bucket. Look, I have your book.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like having a fan moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's you.
I must have.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just wondering, like, do you feel that everyone has the ability to connect to spirit, or because it confuses me, I have to say honestly, because I feel like some people are just born with that gift,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
is it something you can
Might
develop?
have a response, and I do, so we might go back and forth. My response would be, I think everyone's psychic to one degree or another, born with that. I think mediumship, we all have that possibility. Just like everybody has a possibility to play the piano, but they're not everybody's a concert pianist. So there are some people that are born with it more, I guess you'd say, to the top or more expressive in their soul self, and that it's easier for them. But as far, I think everyone can connect because you're a soul, they're a soul, just getting out of the way, human way. But the efficiency, there are some souls that more efficient or will develop it to that level. Not likely to answer, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think I like what Gladys Osborne Leonard said, who is a really amazing medium from the past in the UK. She said that it exists in varying levels. It just depends on how close to the surface. So for some people, it's right there at the surface, and it's easy for them to connect, given whether that's from lived experiences or spiritual development, etc. And then other people, it's going to be a bit deeper, and they have to work through a lot more things to get there, if that makes sense. So, yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say, Shen?
And do you think that grief can affect our ability to connect as well?
Certainly, absolutely. I mean, I know from myself, at least I'll speak for me. When I, had lost someone very near and dear to me recently, I was in too much grief to be able to really feel them, to sense the spirit, because the human part of me had to deal with the loss, right? While I had the knowledge that, we continue on, my internal self needed to deal with what had happened. And I did not, I think it was maybe like a week or two where I just really wasn't feeling anything because I was just too heavily in grief. But I think it might vary for different people. What do you think, James?
Well, I think it's very human. We go through grief. We have to go through grief. I think that we have to remember that it's the emotional body. There are many bodies to the soul. And if the emotional body is being upset and really in shock in some ways, that I find it's very hard to work when you're in that way because, once one body is out of balance, with the emotional body, let's say, it'll affect the mental body, the spiritual body, the physical body. And it's not until we're ready to clear that up and go through that experience and then we can, in many instances with grief, when a parent loses a child or a partner, in some way before they came back on this earth, many of them that I've found, my experience, had that lesson that was revealed to them before they came back, and that's the lesson they had to go through in order for the person left behind to get on their spiritual path. So I've met many parents and many partners, and many people get on their spiritual path as a result of someone that passed over who was close to them. So I often say the dead never go without leaving gifts behind. But we have to have the courage to open up that gift and look and see what's inside.
That's beautiful. So can I just one more little quick one? So does that mean that you believe in soul planning? Because that's what's saving my life right now.
100%. Michael Newton wrote a great book of Destiny of Souls. Definitely read that. It's great. I do believe that. I definitely do. I find my truth. I work with my truth with all the experience I have, plus the message from the spirit world, and many books, and it all says the same thing. That's why I make my truth. And that's one thing the other side said. We go through a life review, and we also pre-plan our lives. Get a curriculum for every life. That's cool.
Very good. Rita, you had a question?
Yeah, sorry. Hi.
Hi, Rita. I love your hair. I'm jealous.
Oh, I love the way you look.
Thanks.
So I haven't found you since I was, oh my God. So anyway, I love you so much. But my question is, what is your favorite or most interesting medium connection you've made, or funniest one that really stands out?
I don't know. It's been 40 years, so I got to think a little bit. But there's one that sticks out. There's so many, right? So many. But the one that sticks out a lot to me, that was a child, but I was in Maui, Hawaii, and doing a demonstration at the Performing Arts Center, about 300 people in the audience, and I'd never been there before. And it was an okay audience. It was they were a little slow in the uptake, and then I finally figured, this is Maui Wowie group or something. So at the end, this is how spirit works, to save the best for the end. At the end, for the end, this little spirit girl, blonde hair, but 3 years old, stood next to me. She was wearing a pink dress, white shoes, white socks, hair in pigtails. And she said, I want to speak to my mommy and daddy to me. She said to me, I said, oh, there's a girl here and she wants to be your mommy and daddy. And she's saying something to her birthday and her mommy and daddy in the back. And sure enough, I'm still gonna cry. Mother and father stood up, young couple. And everyone was just crying because it's just so many things, just innocent, pure. Communication was fabulous because the little girl. She wasn't, what's the word, poisoned yet by the humans. So she said, Daddy, I want to thank you for the tattoo of the angel wings. I love the angel wings, Daddy. Thank you. Because today was her birthday. That day was her birthday. So her birthday present, the father got, okay, he's a big dude with the muscles. And he stands up and takes his t-shirt off. He turns around and shows his back. And all his back with 2 angel wings, his whole side of his back. And he got that 2 days before, or whatever, a week before for his daughter's birthday. It was that night. So that was probably one of the, that I get goosebumps still thinking about that. It was great. And animals when they come through, it's great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Animals come through unconditionally, don't you, Michael? Think they love.
Absolutely. Animals are one of the most beautiful forms of love because they don't have all the extra stuff that we have. You know,
They don't. The personalities that come through as well.
They do, absolutely, absolutely. So that's beautiful. I have Gina's had her hand up for a bit.
Hello, hi James,
Gina.
hi Michael. I've been having some insomnia followed by like some ringing in the ears and pulsating in my head. I was wondering, does that have anything to do with spirit messages or my intuition?
Michael?
Personally, I wouldn't think so. Not necessarily the ringing in the ears. I would think that has more to do with something else going on. I would try to rule out physical expressions first. I haven't really found too much, those kinds of things happening when we're developing. They might happen occasionally when you're like meditating or something, but if it's not happening during that time, I wouldn't really attribute it to the spirit world.
Yeah,
what about you, Jim?
I agree. And we've got to be very, very careful when we develop because the human mind can create such incredible things. We've got to be very, very careful with that human mind. So we got to be aware of that. And I wanted to ask you, Gina, are you sitting in the Velvet Circle right now? Are you muted? Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say about the circle?
Are you sitting in the development circle right now?
No, but I know I'm coming into my intuition and I've been like speaking and listening to a lot of leaders, but I don't have a circle.
Okay, so go to my JVP School of Mystical Arts. That's my school page, and go look at Mediumship 1. I think you need to get that under your feet. I think you need a little bit of a foundation, and I think you need to ground yourself. And once you do that, you'll be right there. I think sometimes you're too in your head, but
yeah,
if you ground yourself, you'll be aware of everything around you. You won't be so much in your head. That's normal.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I wanted to say thank you. I saw you in Encinitas 5 years ago, and you read me and my mother, and you had the most best. My grandma actually passed. It will be tomorrow, 5 years ago.
Wow.
So it was like 20 days before she passed, and you came through with her husband, and you talked to us about the priest throwing holy water, and they were all playing cards up in heaven. It was the best reading. We still think about it to this day. So
wow, thank you. Wow, it's fantastic.
Sadhna?
Hi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
Where
do you live, sweetheart? Where do you live? California?
Yeah, I'm in California.
Yeah. You have to. Go on.
So I've got my youngest two are twins. They're going to be 7. How would you, how can I encourage them to keep their connection? What are some ways that I can work with them? I'm trying to develop my own, but I would like to.
Okay. So I wrote a couple things. I wrote a book called Looking Beyond many years ago. It's a paperback book. And it's a book for parents whose children are psychic and they want to know what to do, exactly what you're asking me. So I answered that with a book. It's a very good book and different exercises in there. The thing is it's simple, sweetheart. Don't overthink it. You've just got to encourage them. So I had a dream last night of a castle. Oh, really? What did the castle look like? Where was it? Mommy, I knew you last night, but we're in France. Where in France? What year? No year. So encourage it. Don't stop them. Don't stunt them. And just push the imagination. Really, is really what we're going to do because you want to close that down. What's their birth signs?
They're Geminis, but they were born 2 months early.
And what's their rising?
I'm not sure what their rising sign is.
You know the moon sign at all? No. So in a chart, when you look at their chart, if there's a lot of water there, that's fantastic. Because water is very sensitive. A lot of empaths are have water in their chart, and it's a lot in their chart. Or there could be a water house.
Okay.
So they probably have that influence. But another thing, Gemini, they're going to be communicators. Geminis are the butterflies of the cosmos. So Geminis come in, they come back to have as many experiences as they can, and then go home to spirit. So Geminis just touch the surface. They don't go in depth, like beginning, middle, and end, like Capricorn would go, beginning, middle, and end. Geminis do many varied things, experiences as they can. So remember, they can juggle many things. So it's that expression. Gemini's that expression, which is great. But just encourage that. Encourage their words. Encourage, of course, you know this, the manners and integrity. But yeah, their imagination. That's great. And remember, they'll be teaching you stuff too.
Yeah,
Right.
all my kids, that's my spiritual practice because
Yeah.
I feel like for me too, like I've been working with Michael, and I hope to keep working with Michael to develop more. But I feel like I was way more connected as a young kid and in my 20s, and now I feel like I'm really struggling.
It's just because, when's your birthday?
End of November. I'm a Sagittarius, but I've got a Pisces.
Pisces moon.
Yeah.
There's the psychic. Hello, Pisces little psychic. So the thing with you and Sag, my favorite sign of zodiac. I love Sagittarius. I don't know what your rising sign is. Do you know your rising ascendant?
Sag.
Oh, you're double Sag.
Yeah.
God, okay. Patience. Major lesson for you. Patience. And foot and mouth disease. Whoops. Be careful what you say. Sag and Gemini's best combination. Fire and air, best elements together. So that's great. You got to be patient with yourself, and you got to realize that mediumship is really about, I want to say, standing still. It's about silencing yourself. They're going into the soul, let your soul expand, but one step at a time. Many mediums want to get the end result. It's like, no. With my students, like, no, you got to go through the process. Each day, you learn some new aspect of your soul, some new dynamic of the person you're working with. So enjoy the process one day at a time. That's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And get out of your own head and stop beating yourself up. There'll be enough people out there doing it for you. You don't need to do it yourself. Okay.
That's very true. Very good. Okay, I think we have time for one or two more questions. Beth, and then Melinda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Beth.
I'm a huge fan of you both. James, I took your spiritual healing certification course years ago, and huge fan. Anybody who wants their own internal healing, I highly recommend. Michael, I fell in love with you when I met you 3 weeks ago, and I've been doing your Saturday class. So I'm a big fan of you both. I'm a Reiki master and an empath and an intuit, but I'm just now delving into mediumship.
Good.
And my question to you is, maybe when you just got started, or maybe you're even still doing it now, if you have a designated side where you know it might be your master guide and spiritual support team versus the other side that you allow spirit to come in for a loved one of somebody, so that it was easier to distinguish the two.
Yes, when I first started, I did that, and I wrote a book called Wisdom of the Guides. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, and it talked a lot about the placement. Even in my online school, the guides course, I talk about the placement. Now, that's only for you. It's only for the medium. It's not. It's for you to make sure. It's really the human mind to be open, because we need that structure in some way, right? We need a structure to know on the right side of my master guide, whatever it might be. It's really how you set it up. It's how you set it up, and you give the parameters to spirit. It's really not them telling you. You're going to tell them where you want them, and that'll work. And the more you use that, great. And I also used to do it with spirits that would come through. So the father would always been the left-hand side, and my mother would be in the right-hand side. His family over here, mother's family here. Children in front. Guides were actually right in the back, center. I did that for at least 12 or 15 years. Worked really well, but then I found it was an impediment. It held me back. And it's like, what I don't need that anymore, because it was like a stepping stone. Because when I open myself up to the space, I should know that what feels like a mother, what feels like a father, what feels like a grandparent. And I will know that the more experiences I do, and the more I allow myself to open up my mind and expand into the feeling, into the sensing what it feels like. So you'll use that for now, but you'll get to a point in your development where you're not going to need that.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I just jump on that one too, is, you know, like James said, everyone's going to be different. And I know for myself, I tried to use that method and it did not work for me at all. In fact, it just made me go into my head and my thinking mind more. So I had to just do exactly what James talked about, which was learn to just feel and know through experience, this is this person, this is this person. And so now if a spirit person comes into my energy, I just have an awareness, this is a mother, or this is, a guide, or, whatever. But for me, I think, so when I teach it, I don't necessarily teach people to do that because of the fact that it can be an impediment, like James said, it can become that. And so why not just skip to the part where you just have learned how to feel that experience. So it just is up to, I always say, take what someone gives, try it, and if it works for you, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it away, keep it simple like that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mike, it's more the many experiences you have, how to deal with that, how to feel that. Every reading you do is different, so you'll build to that. One thing I want to share with everybody, which Michael probably already taught you this, but in my students, and I'm just again auditioning for Mediumship 2 right now, and 2 of the readings I did to the people that were applying, I was helping them on the way for them to give me a message. And I feel, the lady said, I feel a little energy here. It feels like a mother, and it feels like, she had a bag in her hand. And I think that. And I feel it. I said, stop. I said, stop. What I'd like you to do from now on is say, I know I'm a woman, and just whatever, I know, she said she feels 70. I know that I feel around 70, 75 years of age. I know they had breast cancer. I know they had 2 children. And she said, wow, just saying I know from, I'm not sure, the nebulous I feel could be, so I know really landed that plane. And that's what you really want to do. Like you talk about the guidance or insights, you really want to start with your mediumship to get that mindset. I know that I have a woman, I know that I have a man, I know that I have a dog. And even if you're wrong, give yourself permission to be wrong. Because the overall is I know will get you far, far beyond what you think. You're really owning your mediumship. So even now, when you start from now on, say, I know, you'll see a big difference.
100%. I 100% agree with that. That's beautiful. Okay, last question, Melinda.
Hi, James. Hi, Michael. My question is, have you ever experienced spirit to come through like within a day after spirit has left and went into the spirit world?
I've experienced when I was doing demonstrations, like I think 600-700 people, where it was somewhere in the world, in the States somewhere. And I brought through this mother to her daughter in the audience, and it put the information through. And so she dies quickly, does fast. And I know that I have a heart attack. I know that it's very quick. It's just very recent. And the girl said, I just left her at the house. The mother died when the girl was driving the demonstration. That's how quick. That's the quickest one I've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
thank you.
I would agree that I don't think there necessarily is a time period. Maybe for the recipient, there may be a time period where they need time to grieve. And that may be why it doesn't, function, the way that you hope it would. But I wouldn't say that. I would agree with James.
But also, Michael, it's also sometimes everyone's different. Sometimes
exactly.
It's an adjustment period for the soul because they're not having the system, we're not used to it, or so it's all everyone's so different. So that mother actually had a belief in life after death and spirituality. So that's where that happens so quickly. So
yeah,
it depends.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning
in.
Apologies for the random people coming in and messing it all up, but we recovered and we're here, and I hope that you enjoyed it. So just know going forward, you'll have to register, and then I'll send you a password because that way we prevent that from happening again. So if you want to be kept up to date with that, I would definitely check out my website and just subscribe to that. And that way you'll get an announcement when that happens, or my Facebook or something like that for the next one. Because we'll have Eileen Davies, we'll have Gordon Smith, all the goods. And also check out James's website, James Von Praagh.
Well, school page.
Is
no,
it?
It's not James at Praagh.
Okay. So what is it?
Tell me. How much you know me, Michael? Come on. It's the JVP School of Mystical Arts.
Perfect. Check it out. So many different classes, so many different workshops that you can do on there, and it's fabulous. So I would highly recommend you to check it out.
Especially this group.
Awesome. Well, thanks you so
everyone.
much.
Thanks, Michael.
I hope you
Bye,
enjoy.
Everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish my cereal.